But first, it's again apparent that some of the very best arguments for the no case in the upcoming referendum are put forward by the yes advocates, often by those who played a critical role in creating the Uluru Statement. Over the years, yes advocates have been at pains to explain how there is a clear plan for voice, truth-telling and treaty. Here is Megan Davis, the architect of the Uluru Statement, explaining that the voice is directly linked to treaty. I'm sure Albo said that that was some sort of a wild conspiracy theory.
Then the voice is inextricably linked to a coordinated approach to agreement making or treaty. And that was what was decided, right? We have this framework here of voice, treaty, truth. You know, what's the logic for that framework? And that's what the actual Uluru Statement is, the one-pager. But it's longer than the one page. So the Uluru Statement is actually 18 pages. It includes the truth-telling bit, which is the Aboriginal history of Australia.
That's fascinating. But tell us more, Professor Davis, about how you intend to use the voice to give you more power to negotiate a treaty with the Commonwealth, how the voice will be like an anchor that can't be undone once it's in the Constitution.
The power imbalance is so huge that we couldn't even enter into treaties with the Commonwealth right now. We have nothing to leverage with. It's not like they're British Columbia and they're going to give us $40 million to go away and find our own legal power to start negotiating treaties. If you've got an enshrined voice, an anchor in the Constitution, then a lot of things can cascade off that provision. And until you have that anchor in the Constitution that can't be undone, as Auntie Pat alluded to with ATSIC, then it's going to be very hard for our people to forge out proper treaties in this day and age. You're retrofitting something so far since the invasion, first contact, that it's very difficult to do.
Retrofitting something since the invasion. It's interesting how expansive the pro-voice advocates were back in 2021 before there was strong opposition to their long-term plans for the nation. Let's go back to 2021 again and hear Megan Davis explain how treaties are about lawyers and litigation.
And that's what treaties are. Talk to the US, talk to New Zealand, talk to Canada. It's all about big law firms, a lot of litigation, being generated to interpret a treaty. And people just kind of felt, you know what, we need to be empowered. Our voice needs to be empowered.
These days, Megan Davis likes to pretend that criticism of the race-based referendum and the Uluru Statement agenda is Trumpian misinformation. The Yes camp wants you to deny the evidence of your lying eyes and dismiss all the times they've explained what the Uluru Statement really entails. Here is co-chair of the Prime Minister's Referendum Council, Pat Anderson, explaining how the Uluru Statement is about treaty and how it will be used to empower activists to negotiate said treaty.
The Uluru Statement is about treaty, but there's a way to get there. At the moment, we are powerless. If we have the voice, then we have two sovereign peoples having an equal discussion, not the power imbalance that we have now. So we will then be in charge of everything that happens after that. With the voice, we can speak with some power and authority.
That was also from 2021, but this agenda has been in the works for much longer than that. Let's hear from Yes advocate Noel Pearson back in 2019.
Our aspirations nationally in terms of is to have a voice to the Parliament, and once we have a representative body, we will seek to negotiate a treaty with the Australian Parliament.
And here is Pearson at the 2018 Gama Festival.
We've got to have a foundational negotiation. But before we can do that, we can't just enter into it willy-nilly. We need a constitutional voice for the First Nations. A position from which we can never be shifted. A position from which to negotiate with all of the moral, and historical power that is ours by virtue of our possession of this land for more than 60,000 millennia.
60,000 millennia? That's like 60 million years. Let's go back to Pearson and hear him explain that the treaty door is the second door. The first door is constitutional enshrinement.
For those of us who've come late to this strategy, you need to wake up. Treaty door is the second door. The first door is constitutional enshrinement.
Wake up indeed. But last night at the Australian newspaper's first Great Voice debate, Noel Pearson took a very different approach. It was all about being respectful and understanding of no voters or those who are not sure about the yes case.
We've got to listen respectfully to those people who have reservations or questions or concerns. We have to answer their questions. We've got to deal with them in good faith. We have to believe that their questions come from a good place. They are well motivated. But unless our campaign answers their questions, they're going to continue to have them. And so really, our secret weapon in this next 6 weeks will be the engagement of those soft no's in the middle, to treat every Australian that has question marks about this referendum seriously and to answer their questions and treat them with the respect and intelligence that they deserve. And a lot of their questions are extremely on point.
Wow, how tolerant and generous. It's almost enough to make you forget Noel Pearson's bullying antics, the manner in which he attacked Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, Warren Mundine and Mick Gooda, just to name three. You'll remember earlier this year, before the polls had turned sharply against the Voice's race-based agenda, Noel Pearson launched into a spirited attack against his fellow Voice advocate, Mick Gooda. Pearson labelled the former Social Justice Commissioner a bedwetter who had done little for Indigenous people, all because Mick Gooda had correctly predicted that the Yes camp could be in trouble if they didn't change tack. But Pearson reserved his ugliest abuse, ugly bile, for Senator Price and Warren Mundine, calling them glove puppets who allow themselves to be used by clever white folk to punch down on Indigenous people. And one wonders why Noel Pearson would bother fronting at the Australian newspaper's Great Voice debate last night when he wrote in May, the paper's readers are mostly borderline casual racists. Don't be fooled by the change in strategy here from the Yes advocates. When they were winning in the polls, when support for the Voice was close to 70%, they were bullies who painted any opposition as bigotry and racism. It's only because that strategy failed that we're now getting this softly approach. As American poet and civil rights leader Dr. Maya Angelou famously said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.